of your quilts. And with this topic, we are hoping to be helpful to both the craft and sewing, quilting businesses that we serve, and also to individuals who are quilt pattern designers, quilt makers, anyone who would find it beneficial to be sharing photos of your quilt work. So this is a distillation of information that we shared in a blog post earlier in the month. So if you head to our blog and the URL at the bottom there is how to take better photos of your quilts, and you can see more information on this. So we wanted to start off with the why are we doing this question. So why take photos of your finished quilts? First off, we are showcasing your skills. So high quality photos highlight the details and the quality of your work. And I've got an example here, a close-up photo of some corners that are meeting precisely. And that is impressive. If you're a quilter, that is something that advanced quilters pay attention to. And even, yeah, sorry, I got moving along. You were showcasing your skills. Second, if you are selling online, whether you are selling hand-finished quilts, and there are a few people who are literally posting a picture of a quilt that they are then going to sell that quilt. But also anyone who is a quilt designer, pattern maker, you want to communicate quality and precision in your work. So professional, high quality images make a strong first impression. People trust you and they're more inclined. And then you just want to think about, as a person who is invested in this craft, this hobby, this profession, you want to document that journey. Perhaps it will become relevant for a competition, a collaboration in the future, or for your own records to share going forward with your friends, loved ones, maybe people, little ones and younger generations who start to develop an interest. You can share your work over time. So it's great to keep that record for a lot of different reasons. So this first step in making sure that you are taking the best photos of your quilt that you have is, using what you have. You do not need to go out and buy a fancy camera. We are very fortunate with our pocket computers that we carry around every day, generally have very high quality camera equipment in them. So you'll want to spend enough time with the camera and play with it on the settings to make sure that you know how to use it and you know how to get the best possible imagery out of it. But you do not need to invest in new equipment in order to get started on getting really strong photography of your quilts. You'll want to have some supplies on hand. So, of course, the basics, if we're thinking we got to photograph this quilt, we need the quilt, we need a camera. But you want to think about behind the scenes at Project Runway or other, design competition shows that maybe you've watched. You want to have scissors to trim those little threads that get out, a lint roller, safety pins, binder clips to fold steady. A step stool can be a great idea, especially if you're going to stand away from your quilt to get a wider shot. Then having a step stool will allow you to get up on a straight-on level, and any other props. So whatever you can think of that you might possibly need, chuck it in the back of the car. It's better to have it and not need it, and vice versa. Your next step is embracing natural lighting. And this is something I want to emphasize, particularly for anyone who is a quilt shop owner who has quilts on display along the walls. And those are fantastic to have those. Keep doing that. But before you mount each new quilt on the wall, see if you could take it for a photo shoot outside somewhere where you can really take advantage of natural light. Natural light highlights colors and does so without creating unnatural hues of light and without shadows. So you want natural light. You do not want direct light, however. Avoid going directly into sunlight because that's when you create a lot of shadows. So getting outside, the image of this example on a clothesline is great, timeless. I would be happy to see hundreds of quilts hung over clotheslines for days, even though this, don't worry about this being a format that people have done before, because the quilt is what matters. Hang it over a porch railing. You can feel free to get creative. But I also really like the juxtaposition of a very fine geometric pieced quilt with a natural background, the chaos of leaves and nature. I really enjoy that which leads right into the next item to consider. Choose an appealing background. So you want a background that does not compete with the quilt, but that sets it off. So the example here, the contrast is set up both between colors and between the patterns. So the red really stands out against the blue siding. But I also really think this image is interesting because the siding creates a very steady pattern of lines, and the contrast of the millions of intricately pieced blocks in this quilt really stands out even further. So you'll also want to think about angles as you are photographing your quilt. So you're showcasing your carefully detailed work, and you want to make sure to get some shots that align the camera parallel to the quilt. So if I am here, I'm here because I'm here, and my quilt is here, and I'm taking the camera to shoot the photo there. That avoids distortion. Now, I picked this photo to talk about for a few reasons. So we've got the classic quilt on a bed photo, and I'm not here to tell you that it's a bad idea to include a quilt on a bed photo, because that is one of a quilt's natural habitats. But I want you to not rely on that as your primary or your sole quilt photo, because it doesn't showcase the work accurately because of the angles and the way the perspective shifts away from us. So if you're creating a set of photos, and I think you should, and I'll talk about that shortly, include a bed photo if that makes sense, or a back of the couch photo as well. But I wouldn't rely on that as the primary photo. So keeping it steady. I said you don't need to buy any new equipment. I might have fudged that. If you don't have a tripod, I really encourage you for this circumstance to buy one. You can get them both for traditional cameras and for mobile phones. If you are in a circumstance where you don't happen to have a handy, see if you can lean your body against something steady. If you can lean against a tree or a wall, because as still as you try to be, we all have a little bit of a, we're humans and we move. So there might be a potential for some blur there. So try and get your photo as steady as possible. And I alluded to this just a couple of slides ago, creating a shot list. So since you're going to this effort, you want to take a lot of different pictures of your quilt. You'll want to get full views, get close-ups that maybe focus in on one block or one repetition of the motif, and then creative angles. So you document the full scope of the quilt design. So I've created a sample list here. There are a lot of different shots you could include. So I have the full quilt photo, a close-up of motif, a close-up showing your aligned seams, folded over a chair, the backing. I want you to take a picture of that because that also gives you a chance to show off the detail of the quilting. If you had some special complementary design applied to your quilt, then you want to be able to show that as well. So the backing can be a great place to showcase. If the backing is a small busy print where that won't show up well, then maybe do that on the front. If there's some negative space, some white space where maybe it'll show up well, I encourage you to include. And add personal touches. So include a shot or two with pets or props that add personality and warmth. And here's my irreverent little caption. Remember, the internet, it loves cats. The internet likes dogs, but the internet loves cats. So if you don't have a cat, but you do have a dog, get that furry friend in there. You might have some toys if the quilt is aimed at babies or toddlers, or stage it in a setting that sort of matches where you imagine the quilt would be most appropriate. So that can also be a great part of your portfolio. So now you've done all of these things I've told you to, and I'm assuming you have share-worthy photos of your beautiful quilts. So congratulations. And before I open up for questions, just want to put in the reminder, if you would like help expanding your crafty business through photography, through content creation, social media, whatever, Stitchcraft Marketing can help you with that. And what you could do to learn more is schedule a free 30-minute consultation with our CEO, Leanne Presley. She puts her calendar on here, and you can book a time at your convenience and have a call with her and pursue that. So with that being covered, are there any questions that we can try to help out with?